Father Roman. Thank you for your invitation. Dear colleagues and friends, it's a real joy and honor to welcome all of you at this opening for the Ecumenical Summer School 2026. By way of introduction, I would like to share with you some reflections about a bigger picture, to give you some sense of what is going on in Ukraine and how it affects the Christian churches and denominations. So as I know, the situation on the ground, so I wanted to give you this feeling. As you will know, our common world is becoming increasingly unpredictable and much less common as well. So decision making is often driven not by the public good, but by individual interests that really create this kind of polarization that Father Roman was speaking about. There are many leaders who lack character, who lack responsibility and even critical thinking. And, by their action, they create a sense of chaos and absurdity. In Ukraine, we are already well into the 5th year of the full-scale invasion and the 13th year of Russia's invasion after the annexation of the Crimea. So this year, we will admit students here at UKU and other Ukrainian universities who know how it was before the war only from stories of other people and not from their own conscious lived experience. The war becomes a new norm for our social life. Not anymore an exception, but a kind of new normality. We don't like it, this fact. We regret it and we oppose it, but it is there. Even if the war turns into a permanent ceasefire, unfortunately, the threat will not go away. It will stay with us for a long time. So this awareness of long-term existential danger generates tensions, conflict, and challenges in the society quite naturally. And these challenges, tensions, conflicts could not be effectively resolved by legal regulations and social norms which were designed during peaceful times and for peaceful life. So it is also a challenge for Christian life and mission. The dynamics of warfare exerts a significant impact on the social dynamics in society. We moved, for example, from the emergency and concerns about immediate survival in the first months of the full-scale invasion in 2022 to a narrative of post-war recovery, which was conditioned by first Ukrainian victories on the front in late 2022, early 2023. Then we moved to a narrative of resilience when the Russians took over the strategic initiative and the war turned into the war of attrition. Now we are on the stage of, I would call it, routinization of the war. What I mean by it? That we can see various traces of such routinization in our social life. For example, the most evident is a new building code which requires to have bomb shelters in all public facilities and apartment buildings. Each morning at 9 a.m., Ukraine stops for 1 minute in silence to commemorate all those Ukrainians, military and civilians, who were killed in the war. The basic military training is now introduced into the university curricula and is required by law. There are many other examples of such routinization of the war. In a country facing an existential threat, one should find a new role for the military, for example, as a new social actor, as we have it already for media or judiciary. It is important to provide a public voice to the veterans community, which after the war will be at least 1 million or 1.5 million people. We must ensure that our democratic procedures are not hijacked by the enemy to weaken our security infrastructure. We must put barriers to spreading of panic or surrender messages through the media. So how can communities of faith function as vehicles and sources of solidarity and counter polarization in a time of crisis like that we experience here in Ukraine. First of all, of course, solidarity, active solidarity will be needed for healing the wounds of war. These will be many and painful. For instance, it would be important to adapt society to the returning veterans and find a dignified place and role for them in their civic life. Then, Ukraine faces unprecedented demographical crisis. It is quite likely that now our population already shrunk by half as compared with its figure 35 years ago, after the collapse of the Soviet Union. According to some reports, Ukraine ranks highest globally in mortality and lowest in birth rate. Last year, the death rate was 3 times higher than birth rate. So churches have to work hard to build a sound culture of family life. Family is, as we know, is a school of solidarity, and social solidarity is a habit learned in the family setting. In a country with a very high percentage of population of advanced age, we will need much solidarity to pay pensions and support elderly people. In the post-war recovery of Ukraine, we will be faced with the issue of labor migration. Ukraine is not a homogeneous country. We have to admit it. It stands at the crossroads of ethnic cultures, religious adventures, civilizational traditions, linguistic practices, political projects, economic experiments, and cultural identities. We know what pluralism and diversity mean. We are building a political nation where the sense of belonging is not conditioned by ethnicity or social status. But we have never lived in a racially diverse society. We are mostly homogeneous in terms of race. The recovery of Ukraine will require a lot of workforce from abroad. How will the Ukrainian society respond to racially diverse labor migration? I don't know. But this is a call to action for our churches, which have to prepare for this new reality and help our nation to get prepared, really to show solidarity and social cohesion. Final example. There are tensions between Poles and Ukrainians right now over historical memory of atrocities committed on each other back in the past. The only way out of this deadlock is a Christian forgiveness. It should be based on the prayerful commemoration of each victim, recognized by his or her name, and not remaining anonymous. It should be based on a recognition that each victim belongs to us, not to me or you, but it is ours. We conduct at our university now the research project inspired by this Christian attitude. This is a project of identifying by name of each civilian killed in Ukrainian-Polish War in 1943-45 through diligent research in archives. We are no church institution, and we have to contribute to reducing this kind of international polarization and augmenting, advancing solidarity. By way of concluding, I would like to say a few words about hope. In times of crisis, it is extremely difficult to protect human hearts against anxiety, cynicism, pain, and bitterness, which become mostly the source of polarization. A natural human reaction to the horrors of war is anger, rage, and even hatred. A natural reaction to the lack of justice in punishing the aggressor is bitterness, resentment, and disappointment. All of this, however, justified and understandable from a human point of view, will not bring peace to the human heart. Only hope can protect us. Today, hope is not only a spiritual resource or a source of strength for individuals in difficult times, but also a strategic security asset. Hope translated into social agenda and social action can protect society from internal collapse and inspire it to unleash positive energy to transform the country. Faith-based communities are called to be sources of hope. The churches must also be vehicles and drivers of solidarity. they must remind all of us about the intuition that there is no freedom without solidarity. So I wish you really fruitful conversation and dialogue during this summer school, and to meet, people who can share with you their lived experience of solidarity and hope. Thank you.